Hi everyone, and welcome back to Advancing with Watercolor. I am Gary Tucker. In the next few episodes, we're going to be looking more closely at skies. In this week's episode, we're going to be looking at clouds and how to create a variety of clouds using different edge techniques. We'll combine this into a final painting of painting cows and clouds. But today we're going to focus on a few exercises to familiarize ourselves with clouds and how to create a variety with clouds. As always, there's a PDF file below. Download that for a step-by-step progression through today's exercises. Well, I'm ready to get started. Let's pick up our brushes and head over to the watercolor table. Underside of the cloud is usually quite flat. We're going to do a drill, and these are the steps that I am going to show you. This is the finished version of our study, our drill with clouds. One of the first things I do is mix up colors that I intend to use in the painting. I start then with a very pale wash so I can see it, but it's going to dry very, very lightly. The second stage I take from the blue that I've already mixed and start to cut around the shapes of the clouds that I see, going in between the clouds with this blue. I shape the clouds larger in the upper part of the painting and getting a little more narrow and a little flatter as they move towards the horizon. I also vary the blue, going from a little darker blue up above to a little paler blue below. And the last step would be to put some cloud shadows or just a suggestion of a darker underside to the clouds. It's really easy to overdo this stage, so I stop early and just leave it like this, which is just fine for what we want to do today. So let's try that together in creating this drill. Okay, I've typed down a little scrap piece of paper. I'm going to do a few cloud studies. No drawing, just look out the window, see what you see. And one way to think about this is how we create the edges. So I want a combination of some hard edges, some soft edges. Lost and found is what we call that. I'm going to start with a very, very weak wash using this big brush. And before I start, I'm going to prepare a couple of colors here. The color that I intend to use for the sky, which is basically cobalt blue, a little bit of red, of a stronger variety. There we go. And the light color that I want to use in creating the clouds themselves. So let's paint the clouds with this very weak color, the shapes of our clouds. Some are big up on top. As they come to the horizon, they get smaller. And it may look just completely random, and in a sense it is. Let's put in our blue now. Painting on dry paper primarily, but where these I leave some of the white where I want a little stronger edge, and I go a little darker up above in the upper atmosphere. As I come down, a little bit weaker. And I am trying to make the clouds more narrow as we work down. Let's try to follow this. That's some good shapes. Maybe a little bit of a shadow color on the underside. Where that shadow color meets the sky, just kind of blends in. The underside of the cloud is usually quite flat. All right, very simple representation. And what I'm looking at now as I examine the work is where I have some lost and found edges. Those intrigue me much more than all of the hard edges. Can we do anything once they're set? Really, not much. If we let it dry completely, we can go back and soften with just some water if we want to soften some of those edges. But this is kind of the, I don't know, technique or a way to think about creating some clouds. Let's try another. Okay. I want to show you the stages of this variation of the same exercise, starting with the dirty, warm water. Creating the shapes of the clouds is the first step. And we then go into the mixture that we've created already of deep blue and start to shape the clouds from above. As we go lower in the clouds or around the clouds, we add a little bit of water to make the blue a little lighter. This gives the effect of a domed sky behind the clouds. And then we add a little bit of a warm color on the underside of the large clouds just to give them a little more dimension. So this is basically a repetition of the first study with a little variation so that we can get used to the technique. So let's try it together now. Okay, this one's just more of a square shape. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a cumulus cloud. A little bit of warm hue, and then we mix up the blue. It's ultramarine blue, with a little bit of red. That's sort of the darkness that I want. Okay. Let's start with really loose. We'll describe kind of a big cloud here. Very wet. Good. While that pigment is still wet, we come and we paint the sky above it. Here you can tell I'm really looking for the shape of this cloud. Still so weak up above. It's probably going to be too much the other way, but it's okay. And Let's now shape the clouds below. A little weaker. There we go. And you know, this is just fine for describing sort of the singular cloud. I don't think we have to do anything more with that. Let's try a little experimentation. Shaping the cloud a little bit. But here's where we often get into trouble. So just that one cloud, I think. So some cloud studies, getting to know the way to shape the clouds. This is sort of a classic cumulus. We're going to do a variation of the previous technique, creating this sky. We start by wetting the page with a little cadmium orange red all the way down to the bottom of the page, and then while it's still wet we introduce cobalt blue mixed with just a little bit of leftovers, creating a graded wash as we did last week. Then while this wash is still wet, I'm introducing a deeper mix of blue that has just a little bit of lavender or white mixed with it, shaping the clouds all the way to the bottom and creating a pattern of clouds over this graded wash. This is another way to create a type of sky where the dawn is just starting to break. So let's try that together now. Let's try one more. This is just to wet the page and make the blue a little more complex. Very quickly we wet the page. Good. A bit more cobalts. we've thoroughly mixed. Let's mix up our gray with my smaller brush, this one, that I had even smaller. Let's mix up some of this lavender and a little pink, a little more blue. Start to paint some clouds. Let's add just a touch more blue. Some of these. To be careful it doesn't dry on us. I'm just blobbing some of this in. I know it's going to move around a little bit, and I'm happy if it does.